Make sure you have your language textbook on page 160 and that you complete this exercise with me in your book as I complete it on the screen. So we're on Think A, page 160, and the directions say to insert needed quotation marks around the titles in these sentences. So we know we're only doing quotation marks on this part. We are not doing underlining. We practiced the underlining a couple of days ago. You're going to practice this with the quotation marks for titles today, but the exercise that you're doing to complete for your grade today, you'll have to choose whether you need to use quotation marks or underlining. And remember, if you're not sure what that work is, Google it, look it up. When you make those quotation marks on there, you need to make sure that you keep that period, if it's at the end of a sentence, inside the quotation marks, just like you did on a quote. So let's look at number 1. James Weldon Johnson describes Adam in his poem, The Creation. So it tells me right away that it's a poem, right? So I know I need quotation marks. And like I said before, you want that period to be inside the quotation marks. You do not want the quotes to be outside. No, wait. You don't want the period to be outside the quotes. I said that backwards. Number 2. We opened the meeting by singing Onward Christian Soldiers. Well, if we're singing, there's my clue word. I know it's a song. So I need quotation marks around the song. And once again, I want my period, which is my end mark, inside my quotes. Number 3. The main article in today's paper, so it's a part of a paper, was entitled Decreasing the National Debt. And those capital letters help me to find exactly where my title begins and ends. Number 4, Haley read Poe's short story, The Telltale Heart. So I want quotation marks around the title of that story. Number 5, I enjoyed the poem The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. They tell me it's a poem, and I see the title begins with the word the because it's already capitalized for me. Sometimes I'm not going to know, especially if I have to do the capitalization and the quotation marks. So in that case, you may need to look it up. Notice that there is not a period, there is not a comma before the quotation mark here. Why? Because it's not quoting someone's words. It's just the title of something. I don't need to put a comma there. The only time I'm going to use that comma to separate the quote is if it's quoting someone's direct speech. Number 6, The Gift of the Magi is in this collection of short stories by O. Henry. So I see it's short stories and it's one short story. And I'm going to just go ahead and tell you now, the is part of the title. So The Gift of the Magi is where I need to have my quotation marks. Number 7, Chapter 8, that tells me it's part of our history book, is called Africa Long Ago. Oops, that didn't come out very well. I'm going to erase it because I'm using something I can erase. And then I'm going to fix my quotation marks because I want to make sure that they are accurately placed. Number 8, Jabberwocky is a completely nonsensical poem. So that tells me it's a poem. That tells me I need quotation marks. Number 9, Robert Burns was a well-known Scottish poet who wrote such poems as To a Mouse. So once again, I'm putting my quotes around the poem, and I want the end quote to be outside my period. Number 10, everyone in the auditorium rose to his feet as the Star-Spangled Banner was played. So played tells me it's a song. In this case, it's not. It's probably the music part of it. And I'm going to put quotation marks around the Star-Spangled Banner. That one came out too big, so I'm going to fix that because I don't want to have these quotation marks that are huge. I want them to be exactly placed. And if they're huge, they're not exactly placed. They look almost like a parentheses. I don't want it to look like parentheses.